All right, at this point, we are going to bring on Josh Hill, fan-sided editor extraordinaire, to talk about A Game of Thrones, the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, and our continuing series, A Song of Dan and Josh. I've read all the books multiple times. Josh has never read the books. We're going to talk through it chapter by chapter and see what we can dig out of it. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing very good. And hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, Julie and everybody.
Josh has the hellos on lock.
I do.
All right, let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
We read 2 chapters today. We read Ned 9, you're all over it, and Daenerys 6. Another, actually, they were both quick chapters, but another one of these Ned chapters that's just really quick and to the point. He visits a brothel, and then he gets stabbed in the street. No, he doesn't.
He breaks his leg.
A horse
his
falls
guys
on him
get
in the street.
Stabbed in the street.
Yes.
And you mentioned this was like our first big character death.
I mean, big character death. It's a guy named Jory Cassell, who was on the show, but I'm not sure if you remembered him. Do you remember him?
No.
He was one of Ned's guardsmen.
Okay.
It's the first, I think, like, named character who we might remember to die, which will obviously kind of presage other things that'll happen down the line. The show is famous for killing people left and right. And hey, it's begun. Jory Cassell dies in the streets, killed by Jaime Lannister's men. Although, interestingly, in the show, do you recall the scene from the show at all?
I don't know.
Right. It happens, although it's not raining, because who has money for that? And the big difference between this scene in the books and the show is that in the show, Jaime's actually involved in the fight.
Oh.
Like here, Jaime rides up. He's like, you took Tyrion, give him back. Ned's like, no. He's like, fine, I won't kill you because then I won't get him back, definitely. Kill all those men, and then he just rides away. In the show, he sticks around and actually fights Ned, sword to sword. And then Jaime stabs Jory Cassell on the show, in the eye, in a pretty good moment. And then leaves Ned for dead.
Classic Game of Thrones.
Why do you think they would change that for TV? Because in the books, it's pretty quick. Jaime confronts him, and then doesn't even... I think he does pull his sword because he threatens him, then he puts it back, and he rides away and his men kill him. Why would they change that for the show?
I mean, it was kind of better in the show because you got your fight with Jaime and Ned. So, and it's television, so it's like you're going to have 2 of your main characters fighting and that kind of thing. I kind of preferred the show a little bit because we did get our Ned and Jaime fight, but this fit with the flow that we're going with this kind of noir, quick chapter thing going. And the mystery,
the rain coming down. It's nice.
The rain
nice
coming down. And it's, the mystery is now unraveling. We're getting to the point where this is...
By the way,
more pieces have been uncovered.
Renee says hi back to you.
Hello.
It's, hi Josh, Emma too. This pays off. So does Lisa.
Renee and Emma and Lisa.
See,
I made a note too.
See what happens when you're polite to people?
I was thinking about Dr. Nick on The Simpsons. Hi, everybody. I'm here. I did appreciate it in the book because it fit that noir theme that we have going. But the show was a little bit more interesting because you got Ned and Jaime fighting. Yeah. Which almost seems gratuitous when you think about...
How do you mean?
How it was nice in the... Because it was flowed in the book a little bit more where the chapters fit together and the pieces fit together. Whereas like if Ned and Jaime would have fought in this chapter, it would have felt just really out of place.
You think?
Because it's not... We haven't had a whole lot of violence outside of that one chapter with the mountain.
We really haven't,
Here. And then all of a sudden we have this violence for really no reason other than Tyrion got kidnapped. Like,
I mean, that's a good reason, though, I think.
But it wasn't like I don't feel like Jaime and Ned really had that kind of... There was nothing building towards it. It would have felt very sudden to me.
Well, I mean, you're right. And to be fair in the show, they actually do add in Jaime Ned's scenes that aren't in the book that kind of build up to this. Like the first episode, he's like... are you going to fight the attorney Ned Stark? And he's like, no, I don't fight. I don't want people to see what I can do. So there's more of an antagonism on the show than there is in the books. Yeah. One of the times when they actually add scenes to the show, which they do less and less of as it goes on, and it's more taking away. But in the first season they did, and they did do that. So there was more of a build up to it. Either way, fun scene. Always like some violence. Although I'm struck by because when people talk about Game of Thrones, they always talk about the violence and the fighting. It lasts like all of 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
It's usually over very quickly. It's not like he writes long fights, which I guess is harder to do when you're writing a book anyway, because it's just how can you keep it exciting throughout a long period of time. How about the other part of this chapter, which the bulk was he's in this brothel talking to who and for what?
one of Robert's bastard children, and the mother who has this like fantasy where Robert has come to like,
that's pathetic.
You're gonna raise the child with me.
Pretty
and he's
sad.
Like,
yes.
Oh, not gonna happen. But it was revealed that Cersei like has been killing off these bastard children.
Was like that bit? Yeah, that was fun.
And well, it's like twofold. It was like she's killing off all the bastard children, and then I was like, wait, all of the bastard children? As in, like, there's so many of them.
Not all. She killed 2.
Yeah, but it's like the implication that like Robert like can't keep it in his pants, and it's like he's got all his seed has been spread all over Westeros, and Cersei's been like chasing it around. But it did kind of give the brutality of Cersei, and again, for some reason, I always forget that like they're married. Like I know it's such a huge
I'm totally
thing,
with you.
But
I forget. It's easy to forget because they're such their own characters, and they're like wants and needs do not intersect at all.
Yeah,
in any way.
And like because Cersei has been established as such an evil character, anyways, from the show, it fit right into where I was like, of course totally. You would just kill these children. I was like, oh yeah,
and then sell them mother into slavery.
Yeah,
the story was that Robert. This is via Littlefinger, to be fair, kind of not a great source. That Robert, slept with some chambermaid. She had twins, and then Cersei has the twins killed, and then ships the lady off to slavery.
Yeah.
And the concern
Classic
there
Cersei.
What was that?
Classic Cersei.
Classic. I mean, it really is. Like you read that, like that's a total Cersei move. That's just what she would do. One of the questions I had is that Robert again is shown in this terrible light. I mean, having a child with this girl who's still pining after him, and then kind of just forgetting about her.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's going to come back for me. And it's like, no, dear, he's not. Standing by, apparently, while Cersei kills these twins. Is the nail in the coffin of Robert is a good man, is that nail already been pounded in? Or are you still holding out some hope that he could have some redeeming qualities? Because, I mean, this is one of Ned's oldest friends. They were good pals. Ned's hope is that he's going to live up to his promise and be like a good freaking person for once in his life.
Yeah.
But we're getting more and more evidence that he is kind of an unthinking, unfeeling, deeply flawed person.
Yeah. I think this is kind of a precursor to Ned's eventual downfall, where he's just, his downfall is because he was wrong about something else. But this is like, again, these chapters have been a construction and also like a deconstruction of Ned as this hero character, the detective in our noir story who thinks he's right and everything. It's like Chinatown. Like he's Jack Nicholson and he's wrong about everything. And I feel like this is almost like a precursor to him eventually dying, and this is like his being wrong there. It's like he was wrong about Robert his whole life. It's not just like this.
You think?
I think so. I think like I don't know if like maybe Ned was the same way and kind of had a change in his life or something like that. But I feel like his loyalty to Robert is a major flaw to him in his kind of quest for good.
I could see that, yeah.
And it's kind of like the thing that leads to his downfall, in my opinion, where it's like, all right, this guy isn't this perfect character. He's not right about everything.
Like,
and
Ned's not cynical enough.
Right, and when he's wrong, he's horrifyingly wrong. Whether it's something that leads to his own death, or this believing that Robert's going to be a good character or a good person when he's having twins killed and allowing his concubines to be sold into proper prostitution, not just personal prostitution.
I like that point a lot. I think you're right. Really quick, too. First, hi, Julie just came on. And Corinne wants us to talk about the bit here with talk about Lyanna Stark, who makes a brief appearance. And I actually did write this stuff down, so yes, Corinne, we can talk about that really quickly.
There you go.
It's, again, Lyanna Stark is one of those characters, kind of like Targaryen, who is dead long before the story starts, but like creeps in at the edges a little bit, and you get an idea of what she's like. Ned remembers her really quickly, talking about back when Lyanna got engaged to Robert, saying that, I know I wrote it down, love is sweet, dearest Ned, but it cannot change a man's nature. Basically saying that I don't want to marry Robert. He's never going to stay faithful to me. And Ned's trying to be like, oh, but he's a good person underneath, and he'll love you. And she's like, no, he's going to be a runaround everywhere. Which apparently she's right, because look at all the bastards he has. And then later, Ned remembers the promises he made to Lyanna as she lay dying. So, again, and that promise, by the way, to keep Jon Snow's identity a secret. So another one of those long-term narrative depth charges he likes to lay down.
I liked it. It was, every time Lyanna shows up, it's intriguing because I don't have a whole lot of, even with the show. I mean, I guess now this most previous season where we had the
we don't
flashbacks
have
or the visions that were flashbacks disguised as visions. We got a little bit more exposition on her, but very brief. It was very mostly brief, Ned. It was just like, here she is bleeding and dying on the bed. And she's interesting because there's so much unknown about her.
Exactly.
But like this, we kind of talked about last week where like Lisa or whatever, and Catelyn are kind of juxtaposed against each other, whereas like Lysa is crazy, whereas Catelyn kind of came back from that.
Steady, yeah.
I feel like there's a juxtaposition here where like Lyanna, she's more level-headed than Ned, who is supposed to be kind of our hero character and the guy who's never wrong, and he's wrong from the jump about Robert, and he's so, again, kind of tying it into his downfall, he's so dug into this belief that he's believing to a fault. And that's such a massive flaw in his character, which almost doesn't even make him a pure good character, because it's this massive flaw.
Yeah, how can you be a purely heroic character if you can't get this stuff right?
And you're going to bat for a guy who has children killed.
I think, to be fair, I mean, he did quit a small council. I think now he's becoming disillusioned. It's too late. Is the problem, which we'll see going forward. I just smacked my tongue again. I think I'll stop trying to do that. One thing...
You could make that a drinking game, Take
but then I'll just get drunker and drunker and do it more and more. One other thing I want to mention is that...
for the people who are listening on iTunes and Google Play.
Ooh, which you can download the show on iTunes and Google Play, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a positive review. It really helps. It would, guys, to be a little serious. We would love that if you could, because we'd appreciate it, and we'd love to be heard by as many people as possible. One quick thing before we move on to this. The plot, it did move forward, because now Ned's been attacked by the Lannisters, so that's obviously a big break for them. The Jon Arryn mystery, Ned's still really not any closer to finding out why he was killed. He mentions it himself. No. Like, he couldn't have been killed because he found out about Robert's bastard, because apparently everybody knows already. So that's not anything to kill someone over.
Yeah.
But I did like how they teased the Jaime Cersei incest reveal.
Yes.
By when Ned is kind of holding Robert's bastard daughter, the baby, and running his hands through her fine black hair. The mother makes a point of saying things like, I didn't write it down, whatever. Like,
like his nose and his hair.
Yeah, like her nose and her hair. She looks just like Robert, doesn't she? And then Ned's like, yeah, he remembered. The other girl in the veil also looked like this. And his eventual eureka moment when he thinks about, oh, wait a minute, Joffrey and Marcella look nothing like Robert, which is how he comes to the whole incest conclusion. So a little subtle setup for that,
which
is nice. Yeah. I mean, did you catch it when you read it? Because I actually didn't on the first read through.
I didn't. I had to go back and check that, but I was like, oh, that is good. He's kind of sneaking it right in there. But
he's good at that.
Very subtle.
And there it is again, I know. Okay, moving on. We also read Daenerys IV, which we're pretty deep into this book, and not many Daenerys chapters, but she uses them pretty effectively, I think. I like this chapter. I like a lot of her chapters. To me, this chapter was about, well, two things. It was about the world building he loves to do. We got a lot of information about the Dothraki. They're in this capital city of Vaes Dothrak.
Vaes Dothrak. I was wondering how to pronounce that.
Yeah, that's my best guess.
Yeah.
They say it on the show, so I'll just follow their lead, which is just a sprawling but very empty city. And we got information on Blood Riders, which are kind of the Dothraki calls super best friend, attendants, bodyguards for life, bros kind of people. The Dosh Kalim, which are these ancient crones who live there. The geography of the place, the fact that the Dothraki take all these statues from other civilizations and bring them all back, because they're that kind of culture. They don't build, they just take and then just have your stuff.
Yeah.
Did you like any of this world building stuff?
I did. I've always kind of liked this world building that he's been doing, especially with the Dothraki, who are fascinating to me.
Oh yeah? Why so?
I don't know. They're just like this primal society that I want to know more about. And it's like, I want to know how they function. It's very like prehistoric almost, the way that they function inside of this. We're bouncing from high society with Ned and Cersei.
Right, yeah.
And even to a lesser extent, like things at the Wall with Jon are kind of, you know, pinky up with things, with the way that they like carry themselves with class and all this kind of stuff. And then you've got the Dothraki, who are just, you know, I know George R.R. Martin like compared them to savages or whatever, and we debated whether or not that was the correct way to say it. But like this very primal society, and I like how Daenerys is kind of fitting into this. Yeah. And I wrote down the note that this is the chapter where she hatches from her dragon egg into the woman that we all love on the show.
Damn, you bring out the metaphors.
Yeah, because like, and you know, I was hoping that this was the chapter where her brother got it. And
not quite. I actually thought it might have been when I started it, but then I think the next one will be. It's got to be, because they're leading up to that.
They're leading up to it, and I was like, I liked how it was the progression. Because even at the beginning of the chapter, she was like defending her brother and didn't really know she was doing it.
Who just keeps being an incompetent boob.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you would figure after he got kind of schooled out in the Dothraki grass when he like fell off his horse, they didn't let him get back on, he would learn something, but he's still like, these savages don't understand the speech of men, and he like smiles at them mockingly. All they're good for is killing. He won't wear his Dothraki clothes, even though his own stink and they smell, and they're making fun of him behind his back. They're giving him nicknames he doesn't even know they're giving him. Just he seems almost like pathologically clueless.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I was of two thoughts of that. I was like, A, like, how can he not get more at the program? And then B, I thought, well, maybe if we were in his head, we'd understand better that maybe just he never entertains the possibility that he's not the most important person in the room.
Yeah.
Like, it never gets through. He thinks that he is the king. He believes it when he says it. So I guess he just has a lot of ego armor that it's hard to break, because I figure by now a normal person would have softened a bit.
You'd think so. I read it as like entitled insecurity almost.
Sure,
like
because he does get really angry.
Yeah, he's very entitled.
When she commands him to come.
Yeah, and even things like, you know, falling off the horse and that kind of stuff. It's like the old, you know, making fun of somebody for falling down. Like they can't, they refuse to see it as a teachable moment. They get angry about it. And they're like,
and they're insecure.
You know, you're wrong about this or whatever. So like, yeah, entitled insecurity is how I saw that. But that's like being nice, because he's an a-hole. So
he's
like,
just complete a-hole.
I'm not defending him in any way.
Well, no, I get that, because again, so Daenerys has these kind of Dothraki clothes made for him, and she asks him to come to dinner. She sends a handmaiden to go ask him. Yeah. The handmaiden messes up. She says Daenerys commands you to come with him, and he takes like a normal person. If you were secure with yourself, you'd say, oh, she probably meant ask, or just like your handmaiden, you gotta school her. No, he comes in raging, just like, you don't command me.
Oh yeah.
So obviously he's feeling insecure.
Yeah.
And just he doesn't get over it soon enough, obviously.
No.
Why do you say that Daenerys is hatching into an egg or whatever that you said back there?
She's coming into her own as a character from like where we met her, where she's like starting to stand up to her brother, and she's really, you know, I just feel like this is like the first time where she seems like she is the character on the show, where she's she's getting more confident, she's getting more wise in the way that she approaches situations. It's like she's been reading the room for like these past chapters, kind of getting the lay of the land, and now she's like the smartest person in the room, or getting to be one of the smartest people in the room, because she's been observing and absorbing, and now she's getting to a point where she's going to be in a situation of power because she got herself there. Not because it's like she's marrying into it. I mean,
she is marrying
into it, but like she's not, it doesn't end there. Like she's taking full advantage of the situation and kind of becoming her own character and her own strong character. And I really kind of like that development in this chapter.
So again, I mean, she does several things here that are kind of steps forward. Most obviously, she smacks her brother with a belt, which is obviously a big show of authority and force that she didn't have before. Because he's the one who's always abused her.
Yep.
And now she's like, I'm not going to take it. I have this belt. I'm going to slap you in the face. and he runs out of there. On the show, he's a bit more contrite. He's like more surprised, but in this one, he just powers through with his irascible anger. The other thing I noticed was that she has thoughts where she's planning for how not her, but her son is going to rule Westeros. Like she has a bit where she talks about when her son sat the Iron Throne, she would see that he had blood riders of his own to protect him against treachery in the Kingsguard. Like she's making plans.
Yep.
Like
got an end game.
Yeah, she has an idea of where she's going to go. Like she's getting some ambitions. Where it's supposed to be Viserys thinks he's going to sit in the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
And now she's starting to, she's obviously smelling the coffee where he's concerned and thinking, okay, well, he's probably not going to do it. I mean, I doubt that she thinks that exact thought, but if she's planning for her son to be in the throne, Viserys isn't on the throne. So I think that she's planning around that. Although it's important that she's not all the way there yet. She's not planning for herself to be in the throne.
No, not yet.
Which is where she'll get eventually. Right? But she is at least, she's grown beyond Viserys is going to be in the throne, and I'll just do whatever he says.
Yeah.
She's making her own plans.
Yeah, and I really like that. I also looked up with what Doth Khaleen means. It is the Council of Crones.
Yeah.
I liked that.
I mean...
They're basically like the religious, figures.
They're like the religious figures.
The widows of, like, the religious
figures.
Are. And, like, everybody's afraid of them.
I don't think they're afraid of them, but they're the widows of the dead Khals. That's where Daenerys ate the horse heart in front of them.
Yep.
And then that's why they drag her back there in the 6th season.
Yeah.
And she burns down the place and she just takes over. But so they appear in the show too. They haven't been left out. Finally, I want to talk about the notion of Daenerys giving clothes to Viserys. You see this a lot in the show and the books both, but especially in the books. Is this whole notion of using clothes and your appearance and just finery and symbolism as a means to express your authority.
Yeah.
So here, I mean, Daenerys is very clear about it. She's like, maybe if you wear what they're wearing, they won't treat you like a dipshit and just an idiot.
Right.
And you'll be more respected. And he rejects that completely, which is the wrong move, because one of the things that's setting Viserys apart is he doesn't look like any of them. And his clothes are filthy, and they can't respect that. So it's that dress for the job you want thing. Like, that's what he should be doing. And that's reflected a lot, this notion of using fashion as power, especially for the female characters. There's a lot of talk. Marjorie is always big on that. She always kind of wears, like, when she's not married to a Lannister, she dresses in Tyrell colors. When she is, she dresses in gold colors. And that's kind of showing the rest of the court, I'm the queen now, I'm in charge. Sansa makes her direwolf shirt for Jon Snow and herself to say that I'm now a Stark, taking back Winterfell. Cersei is always wearing like these armored gowns. So they get that detailing, that when you're trying to project power, you know, the clothes matter. The clothes make the man or the woman. I like that that detail is expressed here. Any thoughts on that?
I did like it because it kind of tied back into George R.R. Martin's love of describing clothing.
Right.
And it's kind of paying off a little bit now, because I remember in that prologue we were talking about, he's describing this long, leathery, whatever it was. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool and fun. But now it's like actually paying off in, oh, wait, the fashion matters. And there's something to it. And I really liked that was kind of, that wasn't just like him being flowery and this is me writing about this.
Not
it was like
always pointless. Like there is a method to it. And it does matter. If you want to be a leader, you have to look like a leader. Yeah. That's, I think, the point that they're trying to make, and that it will come back over and over in the story. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Josh, on either of these chapters?
No. It was solid.
Solid. Should we read? Okay, there's like 2 chapters next. I think it's a Bran chapter and...
Bran chapter.
Right, we haven't had one of those in a while. Yeah. And then a Tyrion chapter. They're both on the long side. Do you want to read 1 or 2? It's like 30 pages altogether for 2.
Let's dive into the Bran chapter and see where we're at next week.
I love it. Okay, let's do the next Bran chapter for next week. 1 chapter. Bran, I believe he meets Osha the Wildling in this one. We get more Theon talk. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, here on the Winter's Coming Facebook page. In the meantime, we are available in podcast form, so you can download and listen to us on iTunes, Google Play. If you could give us a good rating, give us a nice review, we'd really appreciate it. And we will see you next week on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Bye, everybody.
Bye.